Hey, you guys. It's time to talk about numbers today. And when I speak numbers, I'm talking about cardinal numbers, so the normal numbers. If you're looking for information about the other numbers, like first, second, third, please consult the video on ordinal numbers. For now, let's start with the basics, and we're going to make our way from simple numbers 1 to 20 all the way to big numbers, and then we're talking about millions and thousands. And of course, we'll also practice. Okay, let's start with the simple numbers. Oh, wait, no, don't do that, miss. Actually, before I show you, I want to ask you to write down the numbers for yourself on a piece of paper. So all the numbers 1 to 20, write them in letters, and when you're done, then you may start the video again. So pause me for now. And by now you've started me again. Now let's have a look at the numbers 1 to 20, and I made you write them down because I want to test which words you wrote correctly and which ones not. And when I look at the assignments that you guys do, then you accidentally make mistakes in your spelling, and it's good to pick up on those so that you can correct exactly those. All the ones you've already got correct, you don't have to do anything about. Okay, so here are the numbers 1 to 20. Please check them, and I'll highlight a couple for infamous spelling mistakes. 1 and 2 are usually fine with people. 3, sometimes people forget the H in there. It's not tree, that's a thing you find outside with the green leaves on. Now, this one's 3 with TH. 4 and 5 are usually fine. 6 as well. 7, the people don't struggle with so much, but 8 is a tricky one for people. Sometimes people write it with the A, the first letter of the alphabet, but it's with the E, the fifth letter of the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, that one. And the end of it is a bit strange with the G, the H, and the T there. 9 people usually get right. 10 as well. 11 people don't struggle with so much usually. 12, however, a lot of people write it with an F, but it's with V. The F variation exists as well, but it's for the ordinal numbers when you write 12th, where it has FTH at the end. 13, 14 are usually fine. 15, for some reason, people forget that it's 15 with FT and not with, it's not 15. It is irregular, so maybe that's why they forget. 16 is usually fine for people, 17 as well. 18 is a bit of a tricky one because 8 was already hard to spell, and then you don't add another teen to it, you add en to it. So it's 18 with GHT and then double EN. 19 is usually fine, and 20 as well. So just a couple of there to highlight. In the end, the only thing you can do with these 20 numbers is study them by heart and practice writing them until you can write them without mistakes. But only practice those that you make mistakes in, right? You don't have to write down the number 1 50 times. If you already know how to spell it, that's useless. Then just do those 3 or 4 here on the list that you make spelling mistakes in. Write them down a couple of times today, and then do it again next week when you've forgotten about most of it again. Okay, let's go on to slightly bigger numbers. We're going over 20. First of all, there's the numbers 30, 40, and so on. And I would like you again to try and write these words. Because again, the most mistakes that people make is not in knowing the word, but in spelling it. So please put me on pause again, write down these numbers in your notebook, and then we'll look at the answers. You have started me again, I think, by now. So that means we're going to go to the answers. Here we go. So 30, usually people spell that one right. Sometimes people make mistakes in the vowel. It's with an I, not with a U. It sounds like it should be with a U, right, because it's 30, but it's with an I, because English. 40 is a weird one because 4 is with OU, but 40 is without the U. It's just FORTY. 50, if you know 50, you know 50, because that one's also with FIF and not with VE at the end. It's not 5T, it's 50. 60 is usually fine, 70 is usually fine for people. 80 is that weird one again. Again, no double T, please. Just GHT and then a Y. 90, sometimes people get confused for some reason here. I think it has to do with the ordinal numbers again, because when you make ninth, then you drop the E, but when you make it 90, don't drop the E. 90's got 6 letters in it. 100, or sometimes you say 100, depends a little bit on how you're using it. Weird for Dutch people is that you always have to say how many hundreds there are, also if there is only one of them. So the word hundred is not really used that often. It's 100, 200, 300. 100 has a weird spelling because it's very similar to Dutch, but not quite. First of all, it's 100 with a U, but most importantly, it's got D-R-E-D at the end. It's not D-E-R-D, but D-R-E-D. So the R and the E are different from in Dutch. 1,000, same thing. We usually count our thousands, so you can't really say thousand, but you usually say 1,000 or 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. The spelling of this word, there's one problem people usually have, and that's that they usually write it with an E instead of an A. So please note that the third letter, the third for 1, 2, 3, second from last letter is an A, the first letter of the alphabet. And then lastly, we have 1 million, and that doesn't usually seem to be a problem for people. But maybe it is. It's with double L. Maybe that's the thing. Now, there's this one strange thing that we've always been wondering about, and I put it in here again, and that's that spelling thing. If you combine tens and ones, like you would do for any number over 20, how when you say the tens, 20, 30, 40, and then you add a 1, as we call it, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, so any of the numbers below 10. Then there's a hyphen between them. So it's 21 with a hyphen, 49, 97, all of those with a hyphen between them. And no matter how big the number becomes, this always remains like this, and it's only between the tens and the ones, nowhere else. If you use a word for tens and ones somewhere else, like we'll see in the big numbers, then sometimes you still need to use it. Like, for instance, if I say 947,000, the word 47 is in it, and that still has a hyphen. But we'll see that when we get to the big numbers, which is what's coming up next anyway. Big numbers. Okay, when we get to big numbers, the spelling is the hardest. How do you write it down? Okay, well, first of all, when you form a big number, you always go from left to right. Much easier than in Dutch, where we go from left to right, except at the end. We just go in English. It goes from left to right. We start with millions, then we go to the thousands, then we go to the hundreds, and then we do the tens and the ones. And I've actually already written it down the way you should be writing it down. Between the millions and thousands, there's a comma. Between the thousands and hundreds, there's a comma. After the hundreds, and then between the tens and the ones, there's the word and then tens and ones, and they get a hyphen between them, remember? So exactly the way it's written there, that's how you should be doing it. Note then that there's a hyphen between the tens and the ones, that there's an and between the hundreds and the tens, and that there are commas between all the other ones. So if we were to do this big number there, then we think about it in this way. How many millions are there? Okay, 15. How many thousands are there? 459. How many hundreds do I see? 600. How many tens do I see? 3. How many ones do I see? 9. I kind of think of it along the ways of those little blocks that you would get in primary school. And you have the little ones, the little cubes on their own, the little strips of 10 cubes, and then it became bigger, like fields of 100, so on and so forth. That's basically what we're doing here. Okay, so if I combine this into a number, I start with the millions, 15 million, then place a comma, then I go on to the thousands. Okay, how many thousands are there? 459. Okay, I write the word 459 first, and please remember that between 50 and 9, you need to place a hyphen. So it's 459,000, comma, because those are our thousands. Then we get to the hundreds, 600. Then we place the word and, because always between the word 100 and the tens, we get the word and hopefully you noticed that I also did that when I did 459 for the thousands. Doesn't matter at all. It's the same there. So 600 and then we get to the tens and the ones. 3 tens means 30. Hyphen, because there come my ones, 9. Whew. Okay, so that's the way to do it. And the real way to practice is to do it, of course. So we need to practice. So keep that in mind. Hyphens between the tens and the ones, and between hundreds and tens, and the rest of them commas. Let's go on to practice. Here we go. So 3 numbers for you. Write them down in full in letters, and pause me for it, and when you're ready, start me again. Okay, so press pause. Yep, you started me again. So there we go. Answers. It's really hard to read these because they're really long, but here we go. The first one only has thousands, hundreds, and ones. So we start with the thousands, 5,000. We place a comma, then the hundreds, 500s, and then we only have ones left. So we do the word and 3. Then we go on to number 2, which also has thousands and hundreds. A little bit more in the thousands though, because we already have a big number there, 149. Oh yeah, the ands because there's 100 and then tens and ones, and between 40 and 9 we put a hyphen. So 149,000 because we were talking about the thousands, then 598, and between 90 and 8 we put the hyphen again. Last one with millions, thousands, hundreds, tens, oh no tens, sorry, and ones. So pretty much everything is in there. We'll start with the millions. I see 150 of those. So 150 million. Then 963,000. And lastly, 104. And then I'm there. So basically the way to tackle the big numbers is to break them up into blocks and then do them as small chunks. And then try to remember where all those commas, ands, and hyphens go. I know it's tricky. I'll make sure that there's extra materials to practice with though. Keep practicing. You're going to catch on to it. Don't worry. For now, it's time for our end screen. And keep practicing and learn from your mistakes are always on there as well. And other than that, don't stress. It's so important not to stress. You're going to get there. Don't worry. Until you're there, use our channel, subscribe if you like, and I'll see you around. Bye bye.